So on their journey
Mhm.
to the US,
Mhm.
what would you say kind of their motivation was for coming to the US, and what types of support systems did they have
Mhm.
coming to the US?
Um, well, hearing stories from my nana and, talking to her and asking her all these questions. So she basically told me that the main reason why that they end up coming here was because, mostly, economic reasons, and I think my nono's sister, I think she already came here before. So he
Mm-hmm.
already had like some family here. And I think the intention was that, because my nono had three siblings, and I think they were all going to end up coming to America. So that was like their support system, their family coming together here. But basically, it was because they knew they wanted family one day. And they, saw the economic, what was going on in Italy. And they knew that if they stayed there, they wouldn't have the same opportunity if they were coming to America, because they heard all these things about, America, the land of opportunity, and like a lot of their friends, everyone was coming here, so they decided to up and leave. They got married in Italy, and they came like not even a couple months later, and their honeymoon was basically the boat ride here, the 7-day trip. That was like kind of like the, so, and they came, and, I asked my mom, I said, well, what feelings did you have? Like, so, I mean, like I know that maybe because her husband's family was coming here, not her family. So her family, and to this day, like her sister and their brother, they're still in Italy. She's always been here alone, just
Wow.
with her. So I asked her, I said, but like, what were your feelings coming like to a whole new country, like not knowing the language, having basically like no family besides her husband's family. And she told me, she goes, Christina, like obviously I was scared, like how anyone would be. But she said that she was mostly excited. So in my mind, I'm like, I get anxious about all these little things, and she's coming
I
across
was
the
just
whole ocean, and she's
about
just
to say
excited.
that.
I'm like, what? So now, like, I stopped. I'm like, no, no, what do you mean you're excited? Like what? And then she's like, well, like, I'm excited because I knew that my life now, because she was like in her like mid-20s when she came. She knew that her life from that day on was just gonna be better. She goes, she's very into her Catholic faith. She always believed that you know that God was always watching over her, and she knew that as long as I was with my husband, like I would be okay. She wasn't scared. Like she's like that. She's not worried about things like that. That's what I really admire about her. So we both teared up because she told me as the boat passed the Statue of Liberty, it's almost like that scene from The Godfather when Vito Corleone's like he's
Love that.
looking, he's like looking up at the statue, and like he's like a little
Best
kid,
scene.
right? That scene, it's almost like I wish I could go back in time, be like a little bird, and like watch like my nono's face as they're staring up at the statue, and the words that she told me, and I quote, she was just like, ah, like she's like I made it, and she was like from that moment, like it was like everything, like she just felt like overwhelmed with like joy and peace, like she knew that this is where she was meant to be. And she was like, I don't know, like it's just like the feeling she had, she can't even like put into words. And she was crying and I'm crying, and like we were just like it was just like such like a beautiful like experience to share with your nana, that like like hearing that, like you can read about it in history textbooks, you can hear about it from documentaries, but hearing about it from your own flesh and blood, one on one at the kitchen table is a whole another experience in itself. So it was just like amazing hearing her talk about it. And then she's like, when we came, she was, treated very, differently. So like for her, because she had no siblings, she had her support system was her husband. She had to lean on him and her husband's family. So that's really was her support. And they lived in Corona, Queens. It's not far from Astoria. That's where my grandparents lived for a little bit before they ended up moving to Long Island, where they started their family, because they end up moving to Elmont. It's on the border of Queens. So that's where my mom, my aunt and uncle, that's where they end up living. But just that story is just like, it gives me chills. Like I'm actually cold right now. Like on a nice July day, I'm cold from this story. So I love talking about it. It's just amazing. I hope that, she's just proud when I can tell her one day of being able to talk about it with, you and everyone else who's watching. So
Yeah,
just
yeah.
a little bit of the
She's
story.
gonna be an influencer. We're gonna make her famous.
Yes, we're gonna make her. She loves that. Oh my gosh, she would love that.
Everyone, like this video, comment on this video, give a shout out to Christina
Please,
Sagos. She'll
please,
she'll appreciate it.
please.
But
Thank
we'll
you.
let her know about all of them. Um,
Yes, thank you.
no, I absolutely love that. And that was in about what year did you say? Like 1967, you said?
Yes, 1967. Mhm.
Yeah, no, it was so interesting about that because you said like the 7 day
Mhm.
boat ride.
Mhm.
And my father is from Italy as well, but he came here when he was like growing up. So he wasn't like yeah, but he wasn't a baby. Like he was growing up. He was still a kid. And whenever, not whenever, but like, I've said to people, you know, my father's off the boat, whatever. Da, da, da. And I was talking to this person, totally not Italian at all, like the most like American, you
You
know,
make me laugh.
typical American looking guy. He should have
Right.
had like a cowboy hat. Like he was just American. And I said like, and I didn't mean it like in a mean way. I was just like not like I wasn't trying to even be funny, not mean, but like funny. I was just like, yeah, my father's off the boat, like he's from Italy, and he's like, you mean off the plane? And I'm like, what?
What?
He's like,
They
off
don't
the.
understand.
He's like off the plane, like he came here on the plane. You didn't come here on a boat. And I was just
No
like,
deal.
no, like he legit did. Like he didn't like and I realized like there's just such a disconnect in culture in the sense that like where our families are coming, where they're physically coming from,
Mhm.
whether that is the late 1800s, early 1900s, or more recently, um, it's still a completely different culture than what like mainstream USA is like, and it's also not the Italy that people think of when they think of like touristy things in the north, things like
Mhm.
that. So when I said to him, I was like, no, he came here on a boat. Like he was just like, really? Like that's still a thing? Like I like if not going on a boat for like a vacation, but like actually like for like a
Mhm.
kind of practical reason. And
Right, right, right.
I realized like, wow, like this person like had no idea like what that culture is like, and that happens when I was working at Columbia University in Manhattan, and that all those types of experiences adding up were what motivated me to start this organization, because I realized by kind of being a fish out of water that wow, like there are these cultural differences that are they're there, but they're also so nuanced, so it's like hard to kind of verbalize them. um and I was definitely, it was a weird thing because like I am originally from Brooklyn, and then we moved, and I grew up in the same neighborhood as you. Didn't know
Yes.
that. And then but I mean, at least when I was growing up, it was very Italian American community. Like there's very much like an Italian American identity in where we grew up, like where we went to high school, where we are in our, like there's 5 high schools in our school district, and but also throughout Nassau County. And and the thing is like we have like people from all over could be like watching us right now. So Nassau County is right near Manhattan. It's borders Queens. It's one of the highest Italian American communities in general in the country. I believe it's 25% of the population
Mhm.
in
Yeah.
the Nassau County is Italian American, and um, the all the high schools in our area teach the Italian language. Like that's just like one of the standard default um, things that's offered, and in advanced Italian and all of that. And I was in a Zoom meeting thing that the Italian American podcast was doing with their new neighborhood community. And for everyone out there, I highly recommend the Italian American
Yes, I love them.
podcast. We love it. Christina and I love it.
Yes.
I sent her different videos, different links to it's not videos, but different links to
Yeah, they're great. They're amazing. Very
yeah,
amazing people. Yeah.
yeah. So it's I can go on and on and on about how much we love them. They also have a community called the New Neighborhood, which is a Facebook group, and they were doing like these weekly like Zoom hangout meeting type things, and so it's people from all over, and people were talking about how like they didn't have, and they didn't have the opportunity to learn Italian in school. And this wasn't someone that was from, like, I was gonna say the middle of nowhere, which I guess is like showing, by the way, like how like New York centric I am, and I apologize. It's like a New York thing that we do. I was in, like, the Midwest or something like that, meaning like a place not near us. Every Italian in the Midwest right now is like, what? Yeah, very New York centric. But it wasn't that. It was the person was from Jersey talking about it, and I was like, it was one of those things. It was like, oh wow, like that was surprising to me. It was almost like my own kind of ignorance, like, oh, this isn't just a thing that there's all these Italian classes. So I kind of grew up in that type of community, and then also being the fish out of water experience with like the Manhattan Columbia community. I was like, okay, like there's definitely unique different things going on here. So yeah, so I was just, when you said that they came here on a boat, I'm like, thank you. Thank you.
They did. That's the truth. They didn't come by train. You can't go across it. It's not the Polar Express. You gotta go.
No, because like I was like, I'm like, do you know how much expensive a plane ticket is? Like a European U.S. plane ticket for a whole family. I'm like, my family did not have
that
kind of money. Like,
that's why they're coming to America.
The money was exactly. Why do you think they were coming to America?
That's why they come in here.
If they could afford the plane ticket, they wouldn't have had to come here to begin with. It wasn't.
Well, when they went back to visit, then they took a plane. Because they had the money. They didn't go by boat.
That's a really good point. Yeah, like it's like my dad never went back on a boat. He would go back on a plane. That's a really, really point.
Right?
It's like you're leaving, like, I'm leaving on a boat, but I'm going to be back on a plane.
To show them, like, look, see, I made it. I'm coming back on a plane. Fancy. I'm coming back fancy.
That is so, yeah. Yeah, I'm like, they didn't have that kind of money. Look, they didn't swim over. Like, are you